Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 25th, 2021 meeting of the Williamsburg Area School District Board of Directors. Please stand, those of you who are here, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have 8 board members here today. Mrs. Kuzer, Mrs. Zimmerman will not be joining us tonight.
Okay.
So we're on for approval of the agenda, and I believe the agenda, there are no changes to the current agenda that you are looking at. So do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next to the minutes, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions about the minutes from our last meeting? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, superintendent report, Dr.
Oh.
Klein.
Okay, I'll give you an up-to-date of what confirmed cases we have in the district. Right now, we have 1 at the high school, 1 middle school case. All these are students, and 1 at Summit View. So currently, as we're required, those are the 3 that are considered currently positive at those schools and in the district. Also, I want to share, just so you know, I have those numbers. I just want to reiterate that the state is still requiring schools to have masks and to use masks. We were made very clear by our solicitor. We have 5.5 days left, so we'll make it through. PA requires it for kids. They don't necessarily require it for staff. However, to go through and change our whole health and safety plan and only let the kids wear masks and not the adults, I feel like it wouldn't be fair to the kids. So we're not going to, we have not brought that plan back to you to have it that our adults that are vaccinated can go without wearing masks. Next year, it's probably going to be a little different. If the state does not require the schools to wear masks, then I'm not going to recommend that we require masks. I will recommend that we give families a choice. So if there are some that want to wear them, they can. If those that don't want to wear them don't have to. So that's kind of where we're at with that. As far as quarantines, an update on quarantines. All of our support systems, WellSpan, local South Central Pennsylvania Department of Health, and the State Department of Health, and also our school nurse, we've all been in contact talking about what would be best for our quarantine days. And we have made some changes over the last few months due to how our data shows what the positive rates are and how many positives within a certain amount of days. So we tried to drive it by our data. However, all those different support systems that we have had recommended we stay with what we are using right now. We have made one major change that if somebody has been quarantined for 5 days and they're tested on that day, they can return, they can be tested the 7th day and return the 8th day. That is something that even the state supported. So if the test is negative. So I wanted to share that we have been doing that and putting that into place. And also one other thing, the State Department had sent out an email here not long ago, Department of Health, and I'd like to read it. There's a long part, but I want to read the main part. But it says the Pennsylvania Department of Health recently became aware that certain employees of Insight Global, a vendor contracted by the Department of Health in 2020 to provide contact tracing and other similar services, disregarded security protocols established in the contract and created unauthorized documents outside of the secure data systems created by the Commonwealth. These documents existed separately from the official data that Insight Global employees were collecting and providing to Department of Health within secure data platforms. No Commonwealth IT assets or systems, including COVID Alert PA app, were involved or compromised. The Department of Health takes the safety and security of individuals' personal information extremely seriously. We are extremely dismayed that the employees of Insight Global acted in a way that may have compromised this type of information and sincerely apologize to all impacted individuals. Immediately after becoming aware, the department took swift action demanding Insight Global properly secure the documents. Insight Global engaged third-party IT specialists and immediately began a forensic investigation to identify all individuals who might be impacted. The state said that there were probably a minimum of 72,000 individuals that were their phone numbers and email addresses, along with some personal information such as gender, age, and COVID diagnosis and exposure status and sexual orientation were compromised. So I wanted to make you aware that the state, we weren't to do anything, but we do have individuals in the district that their information was compromised. And we were made aware, I think today, was today or yesterday, we got that information
I believe,
from the local person.
oh, from the local person
Yeah.
today. Today we
Yeah.
were notified of our first example of someone who may have been impacted,
Right.
but what you just described.
Okay. So I wanted to let you know.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, so Mrs. Kuzer, I have one public comment that was sent in. I assume that's the only one today that I will read when we're done.
Currently, that is the only one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for people here, if you would like to participate in public comment, we ask you give your name, your address, and please try to limit your comments to 5 minutes. Would anyone like to speak in public comment today? Okay, if you wouldn't mind, could you come up to the mic, please, so everybody can hear?
Sorry, this is my first time.
Hey, no problem.
And I am probably going to read a little bit so I don't get sidetracked.
It's fine.
But my name is Becca Sanders, formerly Becca Harkins, for some of you that may know me by that name. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to the concerns that we have for our children. And I am calling for you all to vote for masking to be optional in the fall. I'm very encouraged by what you said, Dr. Klein, about that you're going to follow whatever the state guidance is. Forgive me for not having the utmost confidence in the state. So I am just asking that you guys can make a decision regardless of what the state mandates to not have masking be mandated in the fall and that it be optional. We had an individual that was supposed to be here this evening to speak scientifically as to the efficacy of masks. He is literally chasing cows right now. So he will have his findings for your review. He can submit those. There's another person here that will be able to speak a little bit to that. But as for me, my husband Josh and I, we actually are graduates of the Waynesboro Area School District. I had, several of you as teachers, and we are now residents. We're taxpayers, and we're parents to 3 young children. Reagan is our oldest. She was supposed to have started kindergarten in the fall, and we kept her home due solely to the mask mandate. A lot of our friends and family did the same for children of similar ages, be it virtual or homeschooling. And the reason that we did that is the mask mandate, it contradicts our desire as parents to keep the lives of our children as normal as possible. Science and common sense, to me at least, determines that mask mandates and social distancing are detrimental to our kids. They're hurting them psychologically, socially, academically. The young kids, like my kids that are learning to read, they need to sound out letters and phonetically decipher words based on lip movement. They need to communicate effectively with their peers and with their teachers to form relationships, to follow instruction. On the playground, they have to laugh and scream unobstructed as they play. I drove by a playground today and they're all masked. I mean, I know they can't be vaccinated, but it just seems ridiculous. They can't be fearful of their friends. And I think that the masking has created a very fearful and irrational and disconnected youth. They're already experiencing physical distancing because of social media. And we're witnessing an all-time high in suicides and in drug addictions because of this disconnectedness. I think it's just a major health crisis among all ages, quite frankly, in our society. Some children will continue to mask for various reasons. I think that's definitely understood and respected, but I don't think it's the norm. I don't like this looming of the state over us to determine what we're going to do, that our children are going to be masked for the unforeseeable future for their protection, which in our gut we know that it's to their detriment. And I want you to use your greater faculties of reason, which I know you all have, instead of blindly following the CDC guidance. We can't go on like this forever. We're not the only family in our position. We're going to homeschool next year. And we're going to go down to, one parent, one household, one income for our household in order to do so. And that's definitely a sacrifice, but one that we feel is worthwhile. And, public safety, sure, it's important. I think we've all done our part in that. There's a vaccine available to anyone who wants it. And the science is showing us that, thank God, our kids are not affected by this virus. So I think that masking should be optional, regardless of what the state does. And I hope and pray that you guys can vote for us to be one of the front runners in getting back to normal and protecting the most vulnerable, which in my opinion is our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. I would comment, when you're looking over the summer, as anybody, I don't know how many people are here for this issue. When you're looking over the summer and you're getting reports, there's a difference between mandate and recommendations.
Mhm.
Recommendations, we could keep school open, for example. But the protocols that the state mandated, we didn't have an option on. So if it's a recommendation, we don't, and you can correct me, Dr. Klein, if I'm wrong, that we have leeway. But if it's a mandate, we don't.
No, and we have not followed all the state's recommendations. If we did, we wouldn't have been in school all year long.
Okay.
Because we felt kids were better off in school, and we proved to be right. We didn't know that when we started, but we proved to be right. However, right now with the masking law in place, if we don't follow that, they can withhold funding, and Mr. Holtzman can tell you that would do us in if they withheld state funding because we didn't follow those mandates, and they can do that. However, if it's a recommendation, and like I said, we haven't always followed their recommendations.
Okay.
A number of times. Again, if they recommend that they wear masks in the fall, I'm probably going to recommend to the board that we give families an option. And one thing that we have done here at Waynesboro the last few years, aside from educationally, we've been giving as many options as we can. We're trying to give more and more. So then you have more control over your child's education. Sometimes we just can't.
Okay. So as it stands right now, it's just a mandate that you guys can't do anything about, or else the funding would go to the wayside.
Well, they could. Now, whether they would or not, I don't know, but that's what they have over us. And they have made that statement, even with our attestation that we had to sign. I put my license on, she put her presidency on. Not that she probably wouldn't care in this case, but it had a little more impact on me. But that we have to follow. If not, I risk my license, and the district risked funding. So that's why we had to do it. We didn't necessarily always agree with what they were recommending.
Okay. Well, I'm encouraged by that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak tonight?
I do, but I'm trying to get the courage up.
They don't.
Do you want me to read this one first? Okay.
No, I can do it. It's just
Okay.
when you hear that there's nothing we can do, it's just disheartening.
For the mandate, you mean? Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
disheartening.
Yeah.
Parent. So I'm a transplant here to this community. My name is Sarah Pence. And I'm married to Clint Pence. He was a 97 graduate.
We all know.
You know, so he's the guy out chasing cows, which is why I'm emotional. I'm wrangling 3 kids last minute. Judge Pence is running in my house, helping me out because I'm out there trying to keep my dog and my cows. And so I'm flustered because he was wanting to come tonight and speak to you. He has spoke so highly of this community. My grandmother, Elva Pence, worked at Waynesboro Daycare for 50 years. I come from a very small town in Kansas of 1,500. I graduated with 60 kids. Community and family is very important to me.
Would you mind, before you get into your address, please?
Yeah, I live on Honadell Road.
Okay.
So we are, taxpayers here
Okay.
in Waynesboro.
It's just for the record.
Yeah. No, I
Okay.
had that here, but I'm
Okay.
frustrated, and I respect all of you. I work locally as a nurse practitioner here for 6.5 years. I've been a nurse since 2008. I've been in this community now for 9 years. So I consider this home. And I take care of my friends' kids. I love the people here. And I hear their cries. I hear their pleas to help us, to help them. Their children are struggling. The fear I see every day on these kids' faces is beating me down. And I respect you so much for keeping our schools open. It has been the best thing for them to come to school. I can see that, and I can speak for the handicapped children that are frustrated. They have to wear their masks when they're outside and they can't breathe, and they ask me to write a note, and I say, I want to help you, but my hands are tied. And I feel like we can agree on that together, that you want to help your students, but your hands are tied. And I had a whole speech here, and I'm so flustered, but I want to speak from the heart that the fear is real. These kids won't let me assess them properly because they're scared to pull their mask down. They're scared they're going to give grandma COVID if they pull their mask down. And I have to tell them that it's okay. I'm just here to help you. These babies are scared of me. I can't smile at them. And I'm sure you all feel the same way. You can't show your faces and you want to connect with the children. And so my husband and I just wanted to do something to get a sense of, where does the community really stand? What can we do together? I, reached out to Dr. Klein. Thank you for calling me back.
Called you twice.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
I called you later in the evening.
I was at work the first time, and so I'm speaking on my own account. Nothing I say today has anything to do with where I work or the beliefs of my organization or my employer. This is just me as a mom, a caring healthcare advocate. And I want to empower my children. I want to empower the other students, the other parents, that if we stick together and we work together, we can do what's best for this community. And so we had done a survey. We're still trying to collect data. My husband, again, has that information and is, and we would like to, bring some of that to you. We would like to ask to come back maybe to another meeting as we watch and see what some of the restrictions may or may not be lifted as we head into the fall. We want everyone in this community to feel like they have a voice and that we can hear and work together, whether those numbers matter. That's why I'm upset. It just sounds like it doesn't matter. And it seems like we're seeing more and more every week. There's more and more people that are showing up on social media and news stories about other communities and other parents that are getting these mandates and recommendations dropped. Texas has been open. Their kids are back in school. Iowa is now starting to drop mask mandates for all of their students. I'm willing to go to the state. I've called the state. I've called the Department of Education. I've talked to the COVID team. And the COVID team tells me, well, each school district can do what they want to do. And I'm not saying I believe that. I call the Department of Education to verify that because I'm a smart person and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth or just trust anyone without doing my homework. And I can't talk to anybody in the Department of Education. What do I have to do? I have to send them an email. And guess what my email back is? Here's the link to the frequently asked questions. There's nobody here. And you probably feel the same way. Like, how do we take care of our children? How do we do what's best? I hear the cries for help. I want to help. I'm stuck. Parents want to go back to school. They say, how they feel, and I can't change that, and I want to work with you. I'm grateful for the nurses. I do think that the guidelines for keeping kids home when they're sick longer have been very effective in slowing the spread just for virus season in general. But if it comes down to funding, I get that our hands are tied, but at the end of the day, and maybe I'm hearing rumor, but was there some kind of a contract that was signed that we will wear masks so we get our funding? And then for next year, are there maybe other options that I'll go to bat for you? I'll go to the state. Like, I'm here to say with a group of people, like, we will do it. We will go. We will be a voice. We don't want our children to be forced to wear masks. And if we can help you, please let us, because we don't want it to come down to funding. Our children are more than dollars, and we get it. They need an education, so you have to have the money to do that. So I don't really know what else to say other than, can we vote? Can we help? Please let us know, because the masks are seriously hurting the children. I could go on and on with the stories. Like I said, I have a whole list of stuff, but it just doesn't even seem important. It seems like we're all defeated, and what can we do?
Well, the attestation runs out at the end of the school year,
Yeah,
correct?
it actually runs out August or May 31st. So as of June 1st, it would change. However, what doesn't change is that the state still wants kids wearing the masks. My issue is, yeah, we can allow the teachers not to wear them if they've been vaccinated, but I hate to have teachers in there without them and the kids having to wear them. We only have a couple more days.
I
so
get
we
that,
decided
yeah.
to just stick it out the rest of the year. But again, for next year, I'm expecting the state to back off on some of the things, and I think they'll give more autonomy to the districts. And at that point, like I said, I would rather recommend to the board to go, if a parent wants their child to wear them, that's fine. If they don't want them to wear them, they don't have to, because there are some parents that are going to struggle with that. And maybe not as many, but we want to give choices to people. But
Exactly.
the attestation, we had to sign that if we wanted to stay open. And that's why we signed that.
But is there any way that any of us can petition to get that
can-
dropped?
Well, it's going to drop on the 31st, so we only have a couple of days left of it. But the point, it won't change it for this year.
Exactly. I'm
But
okay
next
with
year
that. That's
is,
understandable.
you can always talk to your
Representative.
representatives.
I've
and
reached
tell
out.
them that do not require the attestation anymore, and also make optional the masks and other things for the districts. That's what you could help with.
I would
and
be
that
glad
would
to
make a
do that.
difference for us.
If somebody could send me maybe an email with the exact wording and when that runs out, I don't know if that's possible, but I will try to take notes and do that. I'll reach out to Mastriano again, Schemmel again. I'll go wherever. I'm dedicated to do this for our students. I want us to set the standard again. There's other districts in the state of Pennsylvania that are getting through that. And so I think as parents, as taxpayers, it's frustrating because we don't understand why can they do it and our district can't. And so I understand that maybe puts pressure on you guys, and we don't want to come in here chanting and create some chaotic scene and represent to our children that that's how you handle things. That's not the right way to do it. We want to do it the right way.
I think there was a district in Harrisburg that actually put on their website that they were, after that they were going to get rid of the mask mandate and all that. But I think it was after
at the end of
school's
school.
out.
Yeah.
And
school
so
ended.
they kind of fooled everybody. They put it out that they aren't going to require them. But if you don't read it carefully, you're going to find out it's after school's out.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for, at least a small group of us, to push. We have an organization, we have a group of people it's growing every day, and we're working to collect data and to create a movement so we can help you with these things and petition for these things to be dropped, so that why you're here to care about the best decisions for our children and their academics, so you guys can make those decisions and not be forced to do something.
Well,
You want me to clarify? The attestation is about two things. It's about the requirement of the mask, enforcing masks, And the second thing is, and it's on our website, you can find it on there. And the second thing is that we follow the matrix for closing schools. And we've done that. Now, a lot of districts, the minute they gave us a range, a lot of them they hit that first number and they close us. No, I didn't. I waited till the last number. And there were a lot of reasons because I used data to drive it. It's what we found. If we get closer to that high number, or if we did at the low number, we'd probably close. Next thing you know, we have another couple positives. We have to close again. So I waited till closer to the end. But what we had to do was follow that closure wasn't a recommendation, it was a mandate. So between those two things, that's really all it was based on. And it's based on if your county has 101 or more positive cases within 2 weeks, you're considered significant in the county. So if you're that way for 2 weeks, we have to follow the attestation. So that's why we've been on it for so long, because the county's been insignificant for some time. We did get off for a short while, I think back in April or March or something, I forget, but we've been on it for a while. I think even in the last 5 days, we've had 100 cases in the county. That's why we have to follow it.
And I understand that. I think it's just, we're just getting to the point where it feels like it's money or a mask. And then it's coming down to, are our kids going to be bullied by other peers? Mommy, coming home, mommy, you need to get a vaccine. Or why do I have to wear this mask? And you're going to have to get a vaccine so I can drop my mask. Like, it's a very slippery slope for our children, especially that are too young to get a vaccine. And then it falls on parents, and we're stuck with our own moral beliefs and how we, set an example for how we want to raise our children, both by following the rules, but our own morals and what we believe in, and we're all stuck. It's just a really slippery slope. So I'll end with that. Thank you for the explanation, but I just want you to know that I'm very against masks, and for healthcare reasons, it's not helping them. I have the numbers. I can share them with you. The particle sizes, these masks do nothing. Literally, they're literally not protecting you. The micrometer size of COVID to what these actually cover for, it literally does nothing. So it's very silly to me to make kids wear a mask that's doing nothing. And I'm willing to fight for our kids. I'm willing to fight for this district. And so we're going to continue to do that. If we get an opportunity to come back and bring you anything or help you in any way, we're here to do that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak tonight?
My name is Cassandra Ward, 206 Homewood Avenue, Waynesboro, PA. Mother of 3, 2 that go to school. My son, Anderson, he is in cyber due to the mask mandate solely, and he has struggled. But my daughter, Abigail, she is in the autistic support classroom in Maori. To say that she has suffered is an understatement. She uses the swing outside as her mechanism to be able to calm herself. And in the beginning of this, up until at least a few weeks ago, I believe, they had to rotate once every 3 weeks that they could even use the playground because they couldn't go outside with each other. They wanted to separate the kids as much as possible. She's thrown plexiglass. She's tried to flip tables. She comes home with her face just drained. I've gotten masks with nosebleeds in them. The headaches, the fatigue. She takes a nap almost daily in class. I get the reports from her teacher. There is science. I don't have all the data either, but there is science to prove that it hurts them. The masks we know aren't helping with the science that we see, but they are hurting. And they're hurting in multiple ways other than anything COVID could even touch. She had her field day or her reward day, and all of their outdoor activities, they had to be fully masked. So she stayed home. When they sweat that bad and they're outside in that heat and that mask sticks to their face, the frustration that comes over them, it's just the only places they're required is a healthcare office in the school anymore. You can go into almost any building anymore, and there are people with masks and people without. And like Sarah said, if we have to go to the PA Department of Health or the PA Department of Education and continue this fight, we're willing to do that, because when it comes down to health, there has to be science to back up that reasoning. Otherwise, I mean, look, what do kids do? It's on the table. It's in their pocket. It's in their book bag. They drop it on the ground and then they put it back on their face. That's not sterile. Then they're putting all of the germs that collect on that mask into their body every time they breathe. I mean, when it comes down to it, you have to think, is that really healthy air that they're breathing in? And then what is it causing them? You have more allergies, you have bronchitis, and then, pneumonia. Things add up eventually over time. And the fear, the fear hurts them. If anybody looks up what fear does to your body, the stress that it causes your body. And it's one thing to ask an adult to go through these things and to collectively understand why we're doing it. It's a whole nother ball game to ask children to understand when their brains aren't fully developed as to why this has never happened before in our society in modern day. They don't understand. And then the special needs children, they don't understand. They're just doing what they're told. My daughter, you could tell her to walk out in the middle of the road and pick up a quarter, and she would do it because an adult told her to. She doesn't understand that there's science behind it or a reason behind it. She's just doing what an adult has told her. And yeah, we will fight with you if this is what you want. We will. I think that's it for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak tonight? Okay, if not, then I will read the letter that was submitted. This is from Joe Miller, 13887 Midvale Road. Good evening. I would first like to apologize for not being able to share my comment in person, but family obligations prevented me. First off, I wanted to again applaud the school board and the WASD for all the hard work and courage they have shown in the 2019-20 school year or 2021 school year. It has come to my attention that the school board has voted to approve the addition of an Inspire classroom for WASHs, similar to the classroom now in place at the middle school. I find it hard to believe that with $1 million hole in the budget that the board could vote to approve this, when it is abundantly clear from Mr. Holtzman's statements at the last meeting that while the free funding, quotations, from the federal government may pay for this in the interim, it is clearly a long-term obligation. I heard no board members express dissent or even question how this will be paid for in the long term, which is very troubling. The WASD taxpayers are not a credit card, and neither are our children. I was raised to believe that you count the cost and you save for wants rather than borrowing the money. Just because taxpayers have less power in a sense than traditional creditors does not mean you can hold them in lesser regard than a bank who sends collection notices. In my view, this action taken by the school board for an additional Inspire classroom is a want, not a need. Now I will bring to your attention what I perceive as real needs and fake ones. Does the district need more teachers with advanced degrees? The recent announcement of another PhD being added to the list in the district was applauded, and it should be. They deserve recognition for their hard work, but I doubt the average taxpayer in the district would show the same enthusiasm if they were told of this. A good teacher is a good teacher, whether they have nothing behind their name, AAS, BS, MS, or PhD. Has the district thought about telling the union they can pay for their own higher degrees and they won't get a pay raise simply for attaining one? That would be more in line with the private sector, barring some exceptions. Does this district need to export additional district money out of the district to businesses like Affinity, Laurel Life, and Board Docs? I ask these questions because while the districts continue to outsource more and more lucrative contracts to middlemen, so to speak, you continue to ignore the cracks in levy right in front of you. What are these? It is very simple. Why does the district have such a high turnover rate and support staff? Because they've allowed the unions over the years to take a bigger slice of the pie than is a fair rate. That is a fair, to give both salaries and even more so in pensions. Bus drivers used to be able to provide for a family on a bus driver's wage. The same goes for many other non-teaching jobs in the school district. But where are we now? Well, a school board member recently told me that over half the students in the district are living below the poverty line. If my memory serves me correctly, how much of the pie is left for critical support staff, many of whom are parents of these students? Well, to illustrate, a line cook at a truck stop makes $7 an hour, entry level, to cook steaks, to order, to run a fryer, and to keep the workspace clean. A teacher's assistant, custodian, school cook, etc., makes somewhere around $11 to $14 to work with our most precious asset in our community, our children. Wait a minute, that line cook, that was me when I was 16 years old, 21 years ago. Think about inflation, do the math, and let that sink in for a minute. Thank you for your attention to my concerns. Okay. So thank you, Mr. Miller, for sending that in. And if no one else wants to speak, that will conclude our public comment, though there will be a public comment at the end of the meeting as well, if anyone would like to add anything at the end of our regular scheduled meeting. Okay, moving on now to board reports. Anyone have a board report to give?
We met this week, policy committee. We had a long, well thought out, I felt, meeting. There's a lot more policies that are on tonight for first reading. I don't think we have any for second reading. Some things we just decided to not change, that we liked it the way that was, and we're gonna have a bunch of new things coming in at the end of June.
It's the 30th.
The end of June, I think it is. I think it's the last one. But yeah, policy meetings are always interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, they really are, because you think that they're gonna go one way, and then one thing comes up, and it's just like a domino effect. You know, then you go like, oh, we got to start all over.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Wingert.
Facilities Committee met last Monday, received a lot of valuable updates on a number of different things in the district. There are a number of items, facilities related on the agenda tonight. Please know that they were vetted and discussed and come with recommendations.
Okay. And academic met last week. Talked about things like bringing our kids back in, learning loss and how to help those kids get back on track, some summer school issues, even looking ahead a little bit based on some surveys about how we're going to organize elementary and some other places. Did I miss anything, academic committee?
Oh, sounds
Do
good.
you remember anything else? No?
Good.
Okay. Okay, any other reports from any committees? Okay, all right. Okay, so we're not going to go to executive next.
Yeah, we won't
No
be
need.
there.
Okay. Okay.
We have to, we have a student discipline.
The
Oh,
discipline.
you do have the waiver?
Yes.
I don't, we have the waiver to discuss.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we are going to go to executive
We
session.
have
Please.
to.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. I think there's only one item, so hopefully it won't be super long. But if you all wouldn't mind stepping out, and then we'll call you back in as soon as discussion's over. Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, we are unmuted.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron wants to know if anybody still wants robes. Do you still want a robe? Well, is everybody else wearing them or?
Who's wearing a robe? Are you wearing a robe?
Well, Denise Police said we're not supposed to.
You don't
Yes.
have to because but
We're not
as Dr.
safe.
Klein suggested, you're part of the, you're probably part of the progression, I mean, procession.
I think
Not
we're gonna-
progression.
We may
Well,
not be, by looking at the weather report, it
Okay,
doesn't look good Friday or Saturday.
Okay.
Okay, we are back
Good to go.
on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll bring the meeting back to order. And we are to student waiver, Dr. Sterner-Hein.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The recommendation is to approve the student expulsion waiver as discussed during executive session.
Do we have motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, well, this is one we can't really ask too many questions about. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Personnel, Dr. Sterner-Hein.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold. I'd like to direct your attention to personnel items listed. We have resignation of professional staff, resignation of support staff, district retirement payment, change of hours for support staff. You notice there's several changes of days in support staff. That was indicative of the need to consolidate the number of calendars for our support staff in order to be able to best service our learners and to try to be in school when our learners are actually in school as well. You also have some additional requests for leave. And we have transfer of support staff, appointment of summer cleaning staff, and I believe the final personnel item is appointment of professional staff. And I believe Miss Haley Stone is in the audience. We want to recognize her. Welcome her to the WASD family. Former student of mine at Hooverville Elementary. So really starting to age myself, but we want to congratulate her. She received a contracted position at the Waynesboro Area Middle School. She has successfully served as a long-term sub this past year for Mrs. Finney. So welcome, Haley.
Well,
Welcome.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Wangert on that. Any questions for Dr. Sterner-Hein? If not, all those in favor of accepting the personnel recommendations, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Driver, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. We just have one district driver, Mr. Rickett, and he's met the requirements that we would have for our insurance as well. The district requirements for being a driver.
Motion.
move to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
you. Graduate list. Who is that? Is that you?
Yes,
Okay.
Mrs. Harold, thank you. My recommendation is to approve the list of names for the graduating class of 2021. It's a tremendous amount of joy and excitement that I'm able to bring these names to you with the understanding that we have had the ability to be here in school despite the quarantines and the temporary interruptions since August 31st. So we will hopefully be recognizing our graduates this weekend. So recommendation is to approve the names listed as the class of 2021 of the Waynesboro Area School District.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? MOU on ISS.
All right, the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding of In-School Suspension. Over the years, our teaching staff, our professional staff, part of the WAEA contract have always covered the in-school suspension. But for the last few years, in order to keep some continuity and free up teachers for other instructional duties, the association has agreed to allow a support staff member be in that position. So we are just continuing that MOU and that practice. So we appreciate WAEA's support with that.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Creston.
I think that
Mr.
would be
Holtzman.
Mr. Erickson, maybe.
Oh, Mr. Erickson, you want to take that, Nick?
Yes, this is a proposal for the replacement of the Crestron system at the Oyer Auditorium. I'm recommending that we approve option number 3. along with the 3-year PM plan and the 3 low voltage controllers, with the district installing those low voltage controllers for a total of $69,438.93.
Comment, Mr. Holtz, or not Mr. Holtz, Mr. Wingert?
Yeah, this is something that's been at the Facilities Committee for some time, pre-COVID even. It is something that it needs to be taken care of. Mr. Erickson has gone through a lot of hoops to keeping the audio system in the Euler Auditorium functioning. Finding parts off the internet, bringing techs in to reprogram the system. We do feel it is time, the committee feels it is time that we need to get the system replaced. We're recommending that we approve this system.
Okay, would you like to make that motion?
I would be honored to make that motion to approve the replacement of the Crestron sound system for the Euler Auditorium.
A second?
Second.
Any questions?
Is it typical to need one this soon? I'm thinking 12, 13 years ago is when the auditorium was built.
We have a lot of things we have had to fix in that auditorium.
Okay.
Yeah.
The gift that keeps on giving, we like to call that.
Will this one wear out that quickly, or is this a better system?
This is an open system, so this system can be updated and programmed a lot easier than our current system.
Okay.
The system that was put in, pretty much all the systems that were put into the auditorium when that was built, they were no longer sold end of life before they were even put into the auditorium.
Oh.
So that system that is currently in there at that time was no longer sold. It was supported, but no longer sold.
Okay.
And now there's no support for it at all.
So you said the word I wanted to hear. It is a need, not a want.
I believe it to be a need.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, swim team, who wants to talk about that?
I'll go ahead. We have a proposal there in front of you. We've had some discussion and some folks here to talk about it the last time, for the district to look at starting a swim team that would swim at the YMCA. So we're asking that the board approve the proposal, and we're looking at, I believe it's what, 30, 60 kids that could, or 40 to 60 kids that could qualify to
I think
be on
it's
this
20
team.
to, I think it's
20 each
40.
team?
Yeah, I think they're thinking
40.
20 each team.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
Discussion.
Was the issue, the proposal that we're looking at, I was a bit confused. There was some, this is not the original one. There was some language added to this one.
I thought it looked the same.
Do you know what was changed?
I believe I asked Mr. McElwain to be a little more detailed
About
on-
the suits.
about the costs.
Okay.
Yep.
Suits.
So I think this was his response to me asking for more detail.
So just two things. In the future, if we get a proposal that's a revision of an original proposal, maybe you could bold that or put it in red or something.
Oh, sure.
Because when I first read this, and I'll take responsibility, I only read the first page, but it was identical to the second one, to the first one. So I didn't go on to page 2.
Mhm.
So I didn't catch all those things that we clarified, because I had asked the same question about uniforms when I had that question. So I missed that the answer was here.
Mm-hmm.
My question is I felt in my conversations that there was going to be a resolution to the concern about some students having to join the Y, that was going to be taken care of perhaps. Has that been discussed?
That did not come out in my discussion. I did learn, I thought they all wore the same, like a team suit. I didn't know they could wear whatever they wanted to wear for a swim competition. So that was the answer to my question, but I know the issue about the $20 a month, is that what it is? $20 a month.
For non-members.
That did not come into my conversation because I guess I was just asking for the cost for what the school would be responsible for.
Well, the response that I got was it's not gonna be a problem, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and that's got what we were told that the boosters would pick
The
it up.
boosters,
Now,
yeah.
the issue is
Yeah.
that we, you know, we can't guarantee that. They probably will, but we can't guarantee that.
But that's gonna be our recommendation.
You mean that the
The
boosters?
boosters would,
Yeah, that was my understanding.
okay.
If a child is in need. I mean, I will say that we certainly have boosters that pick up a lot. Even some things like
Right.
gymnastics picks up like all kinds of
Right.
fees that that others don't sometimes. So, yeah, but I don't know that we can't require it.
Right.
So,
But because the Y is letting us use the pool rent-free, it's really a wonderful thing that we can start.
Absolutely.
okay, any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes, and we now have a swim team. Okay, first reading of policies.
All right, and Mrs. Sullivan, if you want to jump in at any point, but these are, again, these are several policies that the policy committee has been working at. They've had administrators in, it goes through our process. Our solicitor has reviewed them and has put his recommendations into these. And I believe we do have the changes in those in bold, I believe.
This is the second reading.
This is,
No, this is
no,
the
that's the
first.
first reading
This
of
is the
these. Yeah,
first
they've
reading.
been pretty busy.
Okay.
There's
I
a
thought
lot
this
of them being
was-
sent to them. So, but yeah, so we're just asking that you approve the first reading. And if there are any things for the committee to review, we can always take it back to them and let them review it and make minor changes for the second reading or other changes.
So this is the first,
A couple of these have come back to us a couple of times.
Yes, we've.
So, yeah, this isn't just like we skim through these. We have, it's been a while I don't know. Some of these have been around since last March. So to say it's just a first reading, it's a first reading that we've done maybe 5 times.
It's several first readings.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Yes.
first readings.
Because of all the changes
Well,
that
that's true. It's the
state-
third first reading.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
does anybody have anything they want to bring up now? I mean, we certainly can before the actual vote, which will be the second reading. Anything everyone want to clarify? Okay, if not, we'll just let that go then and look at it again, I guess, at the next meeting. Okay, on to transportation for pre-K counts kids from Waynesboro Daycare.
Hey, the Waynesboro Daycare approached me again about the possibility of, transporting Fairview Avenue pre-K count students, and they sent me a list of the pre-K counts. There are 2 issues. A number of them, there are 7 that are pre-K counts now, and there are 10 students that are previous pre-K counts that are not pre-K now. And then there are 5 that weren't part of the program that I have on this list. And one of the problems we face, one, you've redistricted, and to add that shuttle, I know that the board has wanted to get away from the shuttles, and to add that, it would kind of disrupt, again, what you've tried to do. And we have other daycares that have found transportation, and I think Waynesboro Daycare also has gotten transportation. So it'd be bringing that whole issue back. The other thing is if we do it, the problem we face is that, and I got verification from our solicitor when I just happened to be on the phone with him. He did say that if we offer that to them, the problem is now we're going to open it up to any non-public school that offers pre-K. And I went to look to see how many of them offer it. Most of them offer pre-K. So any parent in the community that would want to send their child to Broad Fording or another pre-K program, we would have to pay for that transportation. So it's hard, you know, so I brought it up as a discussion. I told the folks I would. I'm not sure I can recommend it as much as I want to help out pre-K, because you guys know the early childhood's a soft spot for me. But knowing that you would have to pay for any of that, you're already doing K to 12 for that amount of, you know, and it would just increase. And that does worry me. And it would throw off what you've tried to do with redistricting. So any
Okay,
questions?
I was going to say, so this is, unless there would be a motion to change the current policy, correct?
Right.
Then this would just
Yeah, if
not
you
be a
don't
vote.
act on
It would be a
right,
vote.
yeah.
So, does anybody want to ask any questions to Dr. Klein or make a comment?
And it did talk.
I'd like to comment. You know, and again, full transparency, I am the president of the daycare board. I totally understand your thinking on this. The issue that we're facing right now, and just to make the board aware, is that we currently, during the pandemic, we were down to about 55 students. We're now up to 140, and we have a waiting list of 36 students. We have students that want to come to the daycare center for next year. That we are not going to be. We did purchase 2 vans at a cost of about $56,000 to transport students to Fairview and Lowry. But unfortunately, the 2 vans are not going to be enough. So there's currently 6 students, I believe, that are Fairview students whose parents going to enroll in the daycare for before next year. But the issue that becomes is that some of these students, because they are in the pre-K program, they continue there because they're part of the the community of the daycare. And we want to keep them there. Waynesboro Daycare is the only one that opens at 6 a.m. And a lot of these parents need care prior to when the YMCA daycare is open. So I guess the daycare, recognizing that we weren't anticipating the board being willing to approve this for many reasons. If we could have some discussions, perhaps to pay, with the district entertain some discussions about investigating us paying the transport of students. And I don't know what that might look like. But the daycare really, it isn't feasible for us to purchase a 3rd van. We're going to be in the transportation business. So again, the vans are costing about $22,000 a year to maintain, to run, the drivers and everything else. And we believe that if 2 vans going, but at this point in time, we have enough students for 3 vans, and that's what Mrs. Fitz would like to do. But I just don't think that's going to be feasible.
Right.
You know, so the issue is that if we could possibly pay for transportation, or look at something like that. If not, then we'll have to tell this parents that they can't.
Thank you for explaining that. That helped me understand a little more than what I think I understood.
Okay. Yeah, I talked to Ann Spotswood last night. We felt there was
Good.
communication regarding what the issue was.
Okay, good.
So it sounds like we're not acting on simply providing transportation, but it would merit further discussion. Where
I guess I'm
more
curious as to whether the
specific,
board would be willing to entertain conversations with the daycare regarding, is that something that, I mean, that's new territory. But it's certainly, I don't believe there would be any, I don't believe the legal ramifications of the other daycares would impact this, because if you offered it to us, they could certainly ask the same thing.
Sort of subcontracting the transportation.
The bear buses, just to give you an idea, the bear buses for them to bus our students last year when we ran into this situation where we didn't have transportation, I believe it was $365 a day for them to come drive to Waynesboro Daycare, drive to Fairview twice.
okay, so yeah, I mean, if you're asking, it certainly seems to me like a legitimate discussion to have.
Would the board like us to kind of review it, find out what is possible, and look at the costs and all that kind of thing, and bring that back?
Yeah, if that's what you're asking, Dr. Royer, for like what a charge would be.
I believe that Jack Scott and Debbie Duffy have already run a bunch of numbers. You know, if you're willing to meet with them, you know, they've run a bunch of numbers based on a lot of, that's not my say, of, you know, they've come up with a figure that they believe is realistic for consideration. And obviously you wouldn't be wanting to do anything for having an extra bus run. You know, that wouldn't be feasible to you. But if there is room on an existing bus, you always comment about buses that have extra seats on them.
My concern is the other, trying to meet all the needs of all the different daycares in the district. You're not the only one that has transportation problems.
We're the only ones right now that can't say, they can't take kids. I mean, and part of that, Bonnie, is just the vast enrollment. Our enrollment's so much higher than the
Right.
daycares. I mean, all the daycares bought vans, you know, and are maintaining vans. And again, if it's not possible, but I guess we're looking for, you know, when Plan A doesn't work, it's impossible.
Well, I think it's only fair for us to look at it,
Yes, I
And
think
not,
we should look at
you know,
it.
brush it
That's
off.
all we're asking.
Yeah, I think it's only fair because they've been our partner in this with pre-K counts for a number of years.
Okay, so you guys are going to set up a meeting then?
Yeah, we'll do what
Okay.
we can at that point.
Good.
And see what we can find out, and we'll bring information back.
I can let Debbie.
Yeah,
Back
yeah.
reach out to Eric.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the preventative maintenance agreement for the generators. Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Annually, we have an agreement with the company to provide preventative maintenance services on the emergency generators in each of our buildings. These are the generators, of course, that keep the building up and running for fire, safety, security, and many other facets if the power goes down. We're recommending a change in company. We think this company might provide a little bit better service than the previous company. And so we're bringing this recommendation forward to you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
I will second.
Any comments on this one, Mr. Wenger?
Yeah, Mr. Holtzman, is the cost comparable to what we have been paying?
It is. It's just slightly higher, but it also includes an additional generator that was not getting preventative maintenance. And that's the portable that we use, that we typically stage at the stadium. So it is slightly higher, but not that, maybe about $300-400.
Anybody else? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. John Deere Gator, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. The existing Gator is 21 years old. It's seen better days. So we would still keep it for some other additional, as a substitute and possible other needs as those come up. But we did go ahead and put this out to bid. We only received one bid. And I have to tell you, it was very interesting because the company said they submitted the bid, they met the requirements, submitted the bid, but said, if we can have one more day, we might be able to use some new state pricing and get you a better price. They came back the next day knowing they were the only bid and reduced the price even a little bit more. So it's well below our budget. We feel it's very fair. It's a reputable dealer in the area. So we are recommending that purchase as well. And this, again, these items, a couple of these next few items were in part of our capital replacement budget we had for this year.
Mr. Wenger.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do you
I'll
have a second?
second.
Any comment?
No, I think Mr. Holtzman summed it up, and we are recommending that we approve this motion.
I want to know if Mrs. Sanders out in the audience remembers when it was painted pink. Was that your year?
I don't remember that. I do know that this went on a lot of miles.
He did not like it when it was painted pink.
Oh, you did?
It was a senior. Not to give anybody any ideas here, but it was the scene, and it actually came off pretty easy. I don't know what they used because when you first looked at it, you're like, "Ah," but it came off. Okay. Okay. Any other real questions? Okay. If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. More contracts with McClure. Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. This is a request to renew our preventative maintenance agreement with McClure's for the heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems. This covers about 681 units, about 1,770 services throughout a given year. What they do is they come in and they take a look multiple times, anywhere from 1 to 4 times, depending on the equipment throughout the year, to make sure that the equipment is operating correctly. They'll replace belts. They do some filter work as well. They're going to make sure that if there's any problems or issues, they can go ahead and replace circuit boards and things of that nature. We do have to pay for that additional service, but while they're on site, it usually is much less expensive versus an additional call. I have to say the systems have been operating very well. We have a lot of systems in our buildings. I know the cost is a little high, but we've gotten some really good quality in terms of air quality throughout our buildings. And we've been very satisfied with McClure's. Of note, we do purchase the filters ourselves, and we purchase the belts and as many of the parts as we can ourselves. So it does save the markup, and they are willing to work with us. In fact, they'll help us even with some of them being up by the Harrisburg area. They'll bring parts down for us that we purchased. So we feel it is a good partnership with them. I think the district's been with them north of 10 years at this point.
Yes,
Wow.
it's,
At least Ms. Bakewell might have a better
Yes.
memory for that.
I think 12 years.
Okay. Thank you. And just as of note, the facilities committee, I didn't want to step on Mr. Wanger's toes, but the facilities committee did look at a couple different options, but the options actually decrease the number of services. It comes at a lower cost, but they decrease the services. But given the concern with air quality, obviously with this last year and going forward, as well as the age of the equipment, I think the recommendation was to continue the same level of service.
Motion,
Move to approve.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Student van.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Holtzman.
And thank you for the previous item. The student van, again, another item in our capital list. Ultimately, what this would do is this would be a student transportation van that we use in the district. It would bump one of the oldest student transportation vans that we would have as a substitute van, which is a 21-year-old vehicle. And then ultimately that'll bump down into one of the tech areas. So at the end of the day, if this is approved, we'll bump a 29-year-old vehicle off the books for the district and put that up for sale at some point. So we still have a 28-year-old vehicle out there as well, but they've seen some better days. But anyway, we only had one bid on this, but I think part of it is just it's been tough to get vehicles this year. It was a tough year to get vehicles. We did have discussions about whether or not we should just go ahead and forego this and wait another year. But again, those vehicles are not getting any younger, and we still have some other needs down the road. So I just don't know what that automotive market will look like. It was slightly over what we had projected, but about 6,000 higher. But then again, the Gator was more than 6,000 lower, so it kind of balanced out.
Okay, motion,
So moved.
Second.
discussion?
Yeah, there are quite a few vehicles that have quite a good number of years on them. So an ideal situation would be as if we could replace a vehicle a year over the next several years and get our fleet a little more.
I have a quick question. I believe it used to be that any vehicle that was 25 years old or older was considered antique.
And it's still true.
Is it still true?
It's still true.
Classic.
So we're
Classic.
replacing an antique. Is that what we're
We
doing?
technically are replacing an antique. In
You're
fact,
suggesting we get antique tags?
They're hard to get
Take
rid
the
of.
cost.
So.
yeah.
Just
Well,
curious.
I will comment that as a member of the committee, I don't think this is a great time to buy a van. That was my comment because I know several people trying to buy vehicles, but I'm going to defer to my fellow committee members and support this. But it's a tough time to be buying vehicles. I don't care if they're new or used, as probably a lot of people know. So. Okay, so unless there's other discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, trash contracts, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry, just a lot of items to cover here tonight. This is for our actual trash and garbage removal, includes recycling. We sent it out for bid. We did receive, I believe it was 4 bids back. And the current company, Republic Services, was actually the lowest bid also for this. But it was pretty close. We actually had some other bids very competitive within about $1,000, $2,000. So we are coming back to recommend to go ahead and use Republic for another 3-year contract.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. Donate a computer desk, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. The board has previously approved that this is surplus equipment. We did put it up in the auction with Hurley's, and it's so surplus that it didn't sell at the auction at Hurley's. And so with no bids, not even a $2 bid, I hate to say it. It's actually pretty good equipment. I think it's, maybe just not feasible for an individual's house. However, the Montalto Fire Ambulance Association, has reached out to us and said that they could possibly use this equipment. So just to make it formal, we're putting this down as an agenda item so that should anybody call it into question later on, but we're recommending to go ahead and donate to the Ambulance Association.
Wonderful.
Want to make that motion, Mrs. Straight?
No.
No, man.
I'll move to approve.
Can you make a
Thank you.
motion and not vote?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Your desk.
Uh, speech and language services.
Yeah, this.
That's
con-
Mr.
I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Klein. Yep.
It's a contract from Presence Learning Services. We anticipate a leave of absence for our speech and language services. So as difficult as that would be to find people to cover, we'd like to try to cover it through a subcontractor. And I don't know, I know Mrs. Sullivan's on with us. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Mrs. Sullivan?
Just at this time that the best way to get subs for our speech and language therapists would be through a contract.
Okay, and that's it.
Okay, no second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Marikey.
Marikey Contracted Services, again, this is so we can use it for students as we need. And I don't know, again, Mrs. Sullivan, do you have anything to add to that?
It's additional support for students who have increased needs or additional supports needed beyond the school. So having this contract in place would enable us to support them and continue services.
If we need it.
Yes.
This is not for a certain number of slots. Though.
I don't think so. I think it was just an open, yeah.
How many students do we have at Marikey right now? 4?
How many students do we have at Marikey at this time?
4.
4? Okay.
That's,
Oh, I didn't,
okay.
I'm sorry.
that's what Dr. Sternhouse.
Oh.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Please,
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
please do.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next item, financial business. Mr. Holzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. For your discussion and action, we have bills for payment. That's general fund and cafeteria, as well as some purchase orders. We also have just the income statement expense report. That's more informational. And then we actually have a lumber bid there for your review and approval. While the lumber bid is very low compared to last year, please don't get too excited. Most companies didn't bid on a lot of the lumber right now because it's just unavailable. So most likely we're gonna have to come back and probably purchase it locally in the future as we need it. Hopefully things will calm down a couple months from now. But we do go out and bid with all the companies in the local area and put those bids out, but just a tough year to bid lumber out for the high school.
Okay, what is the lumber for?
Sure, it's for the high school programs.
Okay.
It's for the student programs.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I should have
Okay.
clarified that.
Oh,
And
that's-
I'm looking at the list. There's a lot more than lumber. There's stains and
There are.
Yeah.
screws and hardware and things like that.
Okay,
I assumed it was just lumber as well.
okay. Okay, so we're voting all these together,
If it's okay, yes, ma'am.
as long as everybody's all right with that?
Yes.
Okay, let's have a motion first of all.
Move to approve. Next.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Holtzman?
Yeah, if you could clarify for me, you can send me an email tomorrow, would be fine.
Sure.
On the budget status report,
Okay.
2270 staff development,
Mm-hmm.
supplies, 600.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, we'll do. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, in that case, all those in favor of accepting these, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Clayton Cabinet comments.
One final note, at least on my end, for the as far as the pandemic and all, we are in the process of working with WellSpan of opening in our clinic at the high school of offering anyone, particularly students that if they qualify and parents want them, they had the vaccination, opening that up this summer if people want that. You know, there's no requirement, nothing like that, but we're putting that option out if people want that. And also, and I think they'll probably even take adults, but we're not sure of that. We have a meeting coming up to determine that. But to make it easier for our students of, you know, parents who want them to have it, we're going to open up the clinic to allow them to do that if they want. So.
Okay, good. Anything else for Clayton folks?
Was celebrating baccalaureate graduation week. That
Baccalaureate is in the stadium?
No, it's in the auditorium.
It is in the auditorium, okay.
Yeah. And we're also, we've got a jump start on summer school for WAMs and washes and begin, well, WAMs has started to a certain extent and then washes. And then we're hoping to staff an elementary summer school program that will begin end of July, beginning of August. So.
Okay, good. Anything from the
we
board?
also remind the board that the next meeting on June 8th will be in the auditorium.
And we're having a dinner before that?
The dinner is before at 5:30. And you need to RSVP to Aaron Kuzer. Thank you. Board appreciation dinner.
Okay, board member comments, anybody?
Yep. Budget. Dr. Klein, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done in terms of that you've had to do to follow everything from the attestation agreement. I know that's been difficult. I wanted to thank the parents tonight for coming to express your opinion. I know you're frustrated and you used the terms, you know, hopeless. I don't think that you're coming here is in vain, because I think it's really important that the board be aware of how the community feels. Because when we make decisions, it's really important. I know in the beginning of the school year, it was very important to us in making the decision to open that we were hearing from parents, you know, both sides as to whether we should open or not open. So your voice is being heard here. I'm sure I can speak for the whole board that we value the time that you took to come here. From what I'm hearing in the chatter in the state, I'm cautiously optimistic. I guess that things are going to get pressure from the other states as well as from other school districts that I'm aware of, that things will loosen up, and that we can, I think the best we can hope for is choice. You know, with this, I think what's happening right now though is that so many districts are taking the media's attention because they're celebrating going back to school. That's like the big deal now, that we're going to go back to school in the fall, which is almost comical.
Yeah.
To me, that they're looking for people to applaud them that they didn't go to school all this year.
Yeah.
So I think that that's taking, you know, some of the attention away from the mask issue, because those parents just want their kids to go back. They don't care what they have to do. So I think as that kind of minimizes and goes away, you know, we're just at a disadvantage here because we're like so far ahead. I mean, it's still beyond my comprehension. It's 20 minutes, you know, north and 20 minutes south. I've been in school less than a month. How they can possibly justify that. I think Dr. Klein has made it very difficult for other superintendents to feel confident in decisions that they have made.
You guys made it easy for me to make a difficult one because of the support. Without it, I don't know if anybody realized how much courage it took this board to be able to move forward with it. When we're looking around us and everybody's making other adjustments, it took a lot of courage to do this. And, you know, we actually got targeted many times from outside of this district because we did the right thing. And it took that support from this district, or this board, to be able to make that happen for the kids in this community.
But I feel confident from what you've said and what you've shared that if the state allows a district to take a risk,
yes,
that you will be right up there doing it.
Well, as I stated in my opinion, my recommendation will be that we allow choice.
And I believe this board supports that.
Well, I just want to say too that Dr. Klein spent so many hours, like most of the week, which detracted from his objective about implementing first choice, and really all that encompasses and what that can mean for our kids and new programs we want to do and things like that. That to me, it was, I mean, obviously it was a pandemic. We couldn't do much about it, but the time that had to be spent on that put us back from where we wanted to be. So we're hoping, of course, next year we can move forward with a lot of these, the vision that Dr. Klein has for us. So, yeah, so, you know, we hope the community's happy with most of what we did. we do feel that it was the right decision, turned out to be that way, so.
And real quick, the Rotary of Waynesboro, and I will admit I am a member and I will be president next year, and I probably should have my head examined, but I am. So, but they actually dropped off today. I wasn't part of that whole thing because I stayed out of it, but they have dropped off cards for every staff member in this district to have a free ice cream cone as a thank you for being in school. They said it's not much, but have an ice cream cone on us because they appreciate that everybody came to school and did what they had to
Absolutely.
do for our kids.
Right,
So.
no matter what if our staff wouldn't have come in, we couldn't have done it, no matter what
That's
we
exactly
thought.
right.
So we really do appreciate all of our, support staff, teachers, admin for doing that. Okay, saying that, is there any other public comment here at the end of our meeting? Okay, if not, then we will be going to executive session, but we will not be coming back. So if I can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Appreciate what you had to say.
Thank you.